difficult passages. We're in difficult passages. Passages that the world that we live in today doesn't have any room for. This is a pretty hard message here. I didn't read the Amplified Bible the last time, but I'm going to this time. The 10th chapter of the Gospel according to Mark. Chapter 10. In verse 1. Getting up, he left there, Capernaum, is where he left from, and went to the region of Judea, beyond the Jordan, and crowds gathered around him again, and accompanied him, as was his custom. He once more began to teach them. The Pharisees came to Jesus to test him, not to hear of him, but to test him, intending to trick him into saying something wrong. And they asked him, is it lawful according to the Scriptures for a man to divorce his wife and send her away? And he replied to them, what did Moses command you? And they said, Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of divorce and to send her away. Deuteronomy 24, 1-4. But Jesus said to them, because of your hardness of your hearts, your callousness and your insensitivity toward your wives, and the provision of God, he wrote you this precept. But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. Genesis 1:27 through 5:2. For this reason a man shall leave his father and his mother to establish a home with his wife. Matthew 19 and verse 5. And also Genesis. And the two shall become one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but are one, united as in one flesh. Genesis 2:24. Therefore whatever God has united and joined together, man must not separate by divorce. And the house of the disciples began questioning him about this again. They said, whoever divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her. And if a woman divorces her husband and marries another man, she commits adultery. We won't probably go through all of that in this lesson, but we'll start reading that in the Greek New Testament. Again, we showed to you the last time the original Greek type text, uncials, and then it was broken down in upper and lower case and with sentences, and then the apparatus. A lot of things have taken place now between the closing events of Mark 9 and verse number 50 and the beginning of Mark 10. He's gone a long way. He's traveled a long way. A lot of events have taken place. Matthew 18, John 7-11, Luke 9, 57 to 8:14. 1/3 of Luke's gospel takes place. 9:57 to 18:14. 1/3 of Mark's gospel takes place during this period of time now, or not Mark's, but Luke's. Kai ekathen anastos, erkete eista horia, tes Judeas kai paran tu Jordeonu, kai sin por ruonte. Pauline okloe pros auton, kai hos eothe, Pauline edasken autus. It was a long caravan. They just kept on following him wherever. I mean, a long caravan of people living off the land, trying to bring and buy what they could to stay alive, and they're following him along. He's making his last journey to Jerusalem. It was over 6 months to the end of the close of Mark 9, but it is just a few weeks till the end here in Mark 10. And from there, that little word Kai there, that's a continuous thing. It just carries on this sentence. It just adds to it there and it links it together. Kai is a conjunction linking two sentences to another or one statement to another. Then it says from there, adverb, a place, and from there, having stood up. Nominative singular masculine, second aorist participle active, having stood up, on the stos. That's the word for resurrection there also. He comes unto the territory. Erkete, third person singular, present, subjunctive, or set present, indicative, middle voice. Middle voice, he did this for himself, his own volition. Ace, page 119 there, that little preposition, extension or limitation of thought or verbal action, unto the territory, the region. Horio. Unto the region of the Jordan. This is a lot of area. This ace was a real good little preposition for that extension, limitation of thought or verbal action. All over the place is where he went. And a great crowd following him beyond the Jordan. Kai Paran to Yodenu. Beyond the Jordan, on the other side. And they come together, third person plural, present, indicative, middle voice. They did it for themselves. Again, crowds. How many people have followed him now? This is Old Chloe.
5.
No.
10.
This is 10 to 20,000 people.
Oh, okay.
You in a large mega church someplace? This one here is not small, micros. But in a mega church, there's sometimes 10,000, 20,000 people. There was a mega church following Jesus all over. Can you imagine the ground? You could tell where they traveled.
That was Old Chloe?
Old Chloe, yeah. That's plural.
Okay.
Old Chloe, crowd. This is 10 to 20,000 people or so. This is a bunch of people. Now, 10 to 20,000 people come to him. They've been following him all over. Some of them following him to hear the words of life, and some of them following him to condemn him to death because of the wickedness, and he's going to start talking to them. This so-called pure Pharisees, the so-called pure, keeping all the law, they said. And again, Pauline, this little adverb here, again, 10 to 20,000 people, 10 to 20K, or more, toward him, a little preposition there, 346, analytical Greek lexicon, toward him, and the conjunction, you can also, there with that little conjunction, you can put it in like a strong adversative conjunction. That can even be but, or also in places. But as, that's a little correlative, page 444, by the way. He kept on being expressing himself, continued to express himself, continued in to state things, third person singular, pluperfect. This is extremely rare tense here, pluperfect, indicative active from eso, up to a prescribed limit. He kept on being up to a prescribed limit again. And he kept on teaching them. That word didaskalo there, or didasko, didaskalos is a teacher, didasko is the verb, third person singular, perfect, indicative active. He kept on teaching them. As the caravan was moving along, now this is the big caravan. As this caravan is looking along, can you imagine now the foot tracks that are following Jesus? Somebody could look at that. Marilyn, I've taken you up here in the mountains and I've shown you animal trails, haven't I? I've shown you animal trails. Sometimes you'll just see one track on them, and then sometimes the ground is just beat up with it, with the hoof prints, or paw prints, or whatever is there. The ground was just torn up. There was a wide space of 10 to 20,000 people walking and following Jesus and them questioning him, and he kept on teaching them. Now here we have the enemy. The enemy. What is an enemy? Not a friend, is it? The enemy. This is talking about the enemy. The enemy. And an enemy, no matter what you do, your enemy will tear it down. No matter what you do. The enemy will destroy you if they can. Now when you're in a war, you go out there and you try to kill the enemy. That's what you try to do. Or you try to disarm, you try to disable the enemy out there. It's an all-out war. You go out there and you kill all of them you could kill. I remember Audie Murphy is one of my heroes. My father knew Audie Murphy. He went to the same gym. My father was a boxer. Audie Murphy was a boxer in this gym. A lot of my friends, Sherman Phillips, Marilyn's uncle, Bud Reed, Ed Bishop. A lot of my friends went down there. They all knew Audie Murphy. They all knew him. My father was with Patton and really suffered greatly from post-traumatic stress disorder. Audie Murphy did also. When you go out into the field of battle, you kill the enemy. You steal his arms, you do whatever you can. It's a horrible thing. I don't know of anyone that has been in war that really was not affected by it in some way. You know, for over 50 years I've been through concealed weapon classes in California and even in Nevada. And I have seen people come in there that are maimed. They're never right again. Once you've been in a terrible conflict here, and Jesus is in this conflict with these people. This is a war between truth and error. A war. You're against the enemy. Once they've been in war, they're never normal again. Something always comes with them. I have one real personal friend that probably killed thousands of people. And every now and then I'll just see it in his face. I'll see the deaths of the people that he killed in his face. Audie Murphy got home in 1945, went to Texas at his sister's house, and one of his favorite things was black-eyed peas. Marilyn, you don't like them. I like them a little bit. Black-eyed peas. Audie Murphy just loved black-eyed peas, and he hadn't had black-eyed peas anymore. And they put a bowl of black-eyed peas there on the deal, and he started to eat them, and he just threw it down and took off running. What he saw was the brains of a German soldier.
Oh.
Conflict. Conflict that they didn't create, but they had to go through. My father was never normal when he came back. He ended up being killed in 1949. Audie Murphy, if he hadn't been in the movies, would have been in a lot of trouble. A lot of people that went into the war came back damaged. The enemy, facing the enemy. Facing the enemy is a horrible thing. You can't rest because the enemy is always there. You can't rest. When you go to sleep, you wake up seeing their faces, you wake up hearing their voices, you wake up with these things. The enemy. The enemy of Jesus Christ were the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Sicarii, the Herodians. All of these people were his enemies. He didn't make them his enemies. They made themselves his enemies. He spoke the truth and they objected to it. He told them when they were wrong and they objected to it. And now he's going to come back on top of them. They're trying to intimidate him. They're trying to incriminate him. And now he's going to start a dissertation that will disable their minds. and their words. Yet they will not let him alone. No matter how many times Jesus is proven to be right, they will not let him alone. That reminds us of politics today, doesn't it? Politics today. Evil, evil, evil people. Kai proselthontes, pharisoi, epi roton, auton, ex esten, andre, genakia, apolise, perazontes, auton. And having approached him, having approached him and encircled him, they want to hear everything comes out of his mouth. They want to try to use it against him. And having approached him, the Pharisees, and what are the word Pharisees now? What does that word mean? It comes from Phares in Hebrew. It means to separate. The Pharisees they thought themselves to be so good that they separated themselves from all other kind except other Pharisees. They wouldn't eat with them. They wouldn't walk with them. They didn't want to talk with them. Nothing. But now the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, all of them, the Sicarii, all of them are against Jesus because now they found a common enemy, and hate and enemies make strange bedfellows. And now they're all here listening. And they kept on interrogating him, third person plural imperfect indicative active from epi and eroto. That means that epi on the front means compound. They're viciously interrogating him. Accused is singular masculine third person pronoun, that auton there. And word here we have ace. That is ace is a first class conditional. The condition determined as fulfilled. And right here, the verb tells us that that is a first class conditional. Since they're going to do it, they're going to incriminate him, they're going to kill him, and since it becomes lawful for a man, a wife, a gyneke, we got a word gynecologist out of that, a woman doctor, a woman to dismiss her, to loose himself from her. First aorist infinitive active. Testing him. Putting him to proof. They're going to try to trip him up. They're going to try to prove that he's a false prophet. But here is the author of all the Old Testament. Verse number 3 now. Hode apokrites. Epen autois te himen. Enate lato Moses. Moshe in Hebrew means to draw out, to rescue. He turned their impure, wicked words right down upon them now. He accused them of being adulterers. He accused them of being adulterers. He said, you people are nothing but a bunch of adulterers. And moreover, having answered the one, nominative singular masculine, first aorist participle passive, having cause to answer them, he said, third person singular second aorist indicative active from lego, to them, dative plural masculine third person pronoun, T, a little interrogative pronoun, T, comes from tis. What to you, that's dative plural second person pronoun, he has commanded Moses. Third person singular first aorist indicative middle voice. He turned their wicked questions upon them now. He's going to show them that you are all adulterers. You've been all along that way. You've been all adulterers. Hoi de pon, epet trepsen, Moshe, biblion, apos, tasion, tasiu that is, gropsa, kai, apola, lise. More the ones, he said, permitted Moses. Moses permitted something. Third person singular, first aorist, indicative, active, from epi and trepo. He permitted something. Moses permitted something. Moshe, the one that rescued you out of Egypt, Egyptos, Mitzrayim in Hebrew. The little book, the scroll of divorce. They gave him a scroll of divorce, a biblion, that's a little book. Accusative singular neuter, of divorce, apostas, siu. That means to stand away from there. To write, and to from loose, and dismiss. Now woman. A woman was looked upon by the Jewish people as a vessel to bring forth heirs. As a vessel to bring forth heirs. They looked upon a woman as cattle, as property. And if you got tired of the property, you just got rid of it. You know, you have an old horse and you just get rid of the horse. You have an old cow, you just get rid of the cow. You have an old bull, you just get rid of the bull. Sheep, goats, whatever, you use them and then you throw them away. Give them to somebody else. Now a woman was looked upon as nothing if she was not a virgin when a man married her. If she wasn't a virgin, she wasn't worth being married to. Simple as that. She was property, and she better to be this man's property and his only. Now, if a man gets tired of this woman, and he wants to get rid of her, what use is she out there? Could she sell herself to somebody else? What's she going to do? She has no children. He has taken her children from her. He has divorced her. She has no way to support herself. He has condemned her to death. And he's going to bring these wicked words back upon their heads. He gives her he just gives her a book, a little pamphlet, a little scroll, a divorce. Verse number 5, and that's where we're going to quit in this message, this lesson. Hode Jesus, epen, autois, tros, tame, skanda, or sclero, cardion, himen, higropsin, himen, tain, intelain, taoton. Over to Jesus, he said, a little weak adverse conjunctive there that day, page 85. Over to Jesus, he said to them, third person singular, first aorist indicative active, he said to them, comes from Lego there, by the way. Dative plural, that's to them, all of them. Pros, 346, another preposition of action. Toward the hardness, the sclerocardion, toward your crooked hearts. Moses did this because of your crooked hearts. Crooked hearts. The word scoliosis comes from that. The word sclero, that means to be twisted. Because of your twisted mind, because of your twisted hearts. Belonging to you. That word scleros, cardia, is what it comes from. Real to the hard and twisted is that word sclero there, or scleros. He wrote, third person singular, first aorist, indicative active from grapho, to you the commandment, this. Moses wrote this to you because of your wicked hearts. It wasn't God's will. It was because of their wicked, twisted hearts. What's going to happen to these women when a man kicks them out and he keeps the heirs? What's going to happen to these women? Wickedness. You know, we live in a wicked world today. We're all part of it, you know. We live in this time and this season of wickedness. I have gone into homes where a woman, she may be running around with any man that'll go with her and having children right and left and being on welfare, and that's her living. A man may want to raise his children, but she doesn't care anything about him. Then you go on the other side of the story. You see men going, and I know men that had 4 or 5 women in Bakersfield area, and they do that in Utah and all over the place, and they will go and pick up their welfare checks. 4, 5, 6 welfare checks. A lot of the drug runners do this. They'll have 4 or 5 women, and they will pick up their welfare checks. The children get food stamps, and they get medical and all this stuff, but he takes the money. That happens a lot in the Mormon world. They usually take a Mormon, if a Mormon's got over 10 women that he's taken care of, they'll go out and buy 20 or 30 acres, but mobile homes all over, and they say a little, one of those jumping things out there, whatever you call them.
Trampoline?
Yeah, a little what are they? Trampolines. Little trampolines around there for the kids, and they goes and gets a woman pregnant and picks up her money, and she's taken care of, and they go on. This happens in these, what they call the polygamous communities over there in Utah, and Nevada, and Arizona. This happens. People that don't have any care for each other at all. They don't think about tomorrow. They don't think about when they're getting old. It just thrills me when I see old people, cartoons, and old people holding hands and loving each other. And it's so wonderful when a man and a woman get married and they can stay together all their lives. It's really wonderful. They have children together, teach the children to love each other, to love them. But when you have the opposite, when you teach mothers teaching them to children to hate their fathers, and fathers the same way with their mothers, that's a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing. That's a mixed up society, a wicked society. Our Father, we send this message out for your honor and glory. Please use it to convict people of sin, righteousness, and judgment to come. Please forgive me where I failed you. In Jesus' name I